Welcome back to Russell Does Stuff. My name's Russell. If you're new to my channel, this is what I like to say in the opening is I work 6 hours on Monday, 6 hours on Tuesday, and when I don't get done, I work on Wednesday. I planned on having Monday afternoons off, Tuesday afternoons off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. Because I planned it. I worked my plan, planned my work my plan. I'm inspired to crank out another video. Why? I didn't feel like going to the gym. And I got my lazy butt into the gym. You know what? I biked almost 2 miles. I lifted a bunch of dumbbells because I'm a dummy. It's important to stretch yourself out so that you can be prepared for your later years. I'm working out, and some guy is in there cleaning the place. He's got a vacuum on his back. He's going around vacuuming stuff, and you know, when you see people working, it catches your attention because I'm not used to seeing people working. You know, young guy in his maybe 30s, young 30s, late 20s or whatever, seriously focused on cleaning. I thought, this guy looks like maybe he owns a business or something. Maybe he owns this company. I even walked over and looked at the floor to see what he was vacuuming up. What is he seeing that I'm not seeing? You know, I mean, this is a big place. He hit all the areas. You know, he's plugging in a cord and unplugging a cord. You know, and he's focused cleaning. That's what I do. I go out and I clean people's yards up, make their house look good. He's making the gym look good. I've been going there a month, and I've never seen anybody do that. So I'm leaving. I bump into the guy. I'm like, hey. I'm like, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah, what's up, man? I'm like, is this your business? Is this what you do for a living? You know, do you own the company or what? Tell me, man, what's up? I'm fascinated by this. He tells me no, he works for the gym. I said, really? I said, all right, that's interesting. I said, I've never seen anybody in here doing this before. I thought maybe you were contracted out. No, he said, no, I'm paid to work here. So I got to talking to him, and I said, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Russell Does Stuff, you know, and I noticed you're doing stuff, you know. He's wiping out all the lockers. He's cleaning the garbage can tops off. I mean, the dude's moving and grooving. He ain't sitting there yawning and swinging a cloth or anything. He's moving and grooving. Caught my attention. Told him what my YouTube channel is about. It's about service businesses. And I seen him moving and grooving and cleaning, and I thought, well, I'm going to ask this guy if this is his business or not. You know, I said, I'm interested in businesses that mail money to you every month. Service businesses that'll send you a check in the month. And we got to talking, and he was explaining to me a little bit about himself. If you stop and talk to people, and then shut up and listen to them, they'll tell you things. He said to me, I've been looking for a job for 2 years and a couple months. I was like, really? He said, yeah, most people don't want to work. You know, he was looking for a job for that long. He goes to the gym. He may have asked them if they had anything, or they created a position for him or what. I don't know. All I know is the dude has a job after 2+ years of looking. That's got to tell you something right there. I don't know how to wrap my head around it because I thought, people didn't want to work. So if companies aren't hiring, that means there's an issue with the economy and people's spending habits and stuff. I think that guy asked for a job and they created a position for him. Okay. The last guy that I saw moving and grooving like that was Brandon. He's the guy that stole all my stuff from me. He was moving and grooving because he may have had, some substance abuse issues, and he was incognito, But I was really impressed with this guy's work ethic, and he was focused on what he was doing. He just wasn't mailing it in, So I got to talking to him about service businesses and how you need to get in a service business that mails you money every month. I told him, you don't want to go cut that tree down and then wait 25 years for that customer to call and say, hey, that tree finally grew back, Can you come out and cut it down? And you're like, hey, I'm not in that tree business anymore. I'm 80 years old. I don't do that kind of stuff no more, This guy is at the perfect age for starting up a service business. He like a scout for a baseball team. You notice talent when you see it, Guy represented himself very well and caught the attention of an entrepreneur. Okay. And that's amazing. I also told him, because he's from California, he moved here from California, and I told him about our buddy Stevie G, who has the outdoor kitchen what do you want to call it? I got to come up with a good word for what he does. Cleaning, restoration, grill business. And I said he created it out of thin air. That kid stopped and he just started staring at me like, well, that's a great idea. No kidding. I started an automotive supply business out of thin air. I started a cabinet business out of thin air. I started an air conditioning company, 2 of them out of thin air. I started a lawn business, landscape and tree service business out of thin air. Service business just doesn't fall out of the sky. Some of these you got to create. I know most of these businesses, you're walking in the footsteps and the paths that others have laid down before you. Like my lawn service business. There wasn't very many lawn service businesses in the 80s and the 70s. They didn't have good 2-cycle equipment and stuff. Places that had lawn service were like, industrial sized places, and they had a full-time maintenance man. I had a friend named Keith who was the maintenance man for a big phone company. They didn't hire out services because there wasn't any services to hire. And he was responsible for mowing and trimming and the upkeep on all their facilities. But the less people that do things outside of their house, a lot of customers don't spray for their own bugs. They don't want to mow their own lawn. They don't want to, trim up their trees that are growing around their house. They don't want to put sealant on their pavers. They don't want to pressure wash their house. So, boom, there you go. Go get you the pressure washing equipment and get you some reoccurring accounts. Banks need reoccurring services. Everybody needs reoccurring services now. Back to that lawn business back in the 80s and the 90s. I knew one guy, it's my mom's friend, who had a lawn service. And it was the most interesting setup on the planet because they didn't have state-of-the-art technology back then. Okay? The mowers looked funny and the equipment was big and noisy, and, you know. And I asked him, I'm like, I don't know how old I was. I was probably 10 or 11 or something. And I said, what do you do? He goes, yeah, I got like 100 lawn accounts. You know, and I looked around, I'm like, the guy's got a swimming pool, he's got a corner lot, he's got a 4 or 5 bedroom house, you know. I didn't understand what he was doing because I'd never seen a lawn service before. What I seen was kids competing with kids in neighborhoods for lawn care. Back then, if you wanted your grass cut, you hired Johnny up the street, you know. For years, I was Johnny up the street mowing people's lawns in the neighborhood. You know, they got us our labor for cheap, you know. And the grass pretty much only grows in the summertime. People weren't watering their lawns back then. And there wasn't a lot of fancy lawns back then. So, you know, we mowed the lawn for 3 months and went back to school, you know. A lot of opportunity right now in service business. When I was in high school, this teacher I had, he would go around service. Location. Service. And he would pop off a positive mental attitude once in a while. PMA. This guy jumped up on the table next to his desk one day in class and just started a rant about Michael Jordan and positive mental attitude, focus, determination. And we were all staring at each other, but I'll never forget that. That was an amazing day. You know, this guy was excited about teaching us his knowledge, you know. He was the only teacher with that wore a 3-piece suit, double-breasted. Gotta have your DB, whatever abbreviation it was, double-breasted suit. He drove a 2-door Eldorado Cadillac with custom trim and all that stuff, you know. This guy was wealthy. He wasn't wealthy from teaching. He wanted to teach because he was passionate about business and young people and stuff. He got money off of stocks and investments and stuff like that, and you know, some of us kids caught on to what he was into. He was wealthy. He was a multimillionaire. He didn't have to teach. He didn't have to share his wisdom with us, you know. My friend Eric, that's not my friend anymore because I don't want to talk to him because he's too greedy for me. He was in that class also, and that made such a large impact on his life that, you know, he became an entrepreneur because of Mr. Holloway. Okay? It's just amazing, you know, the impact some people will have on you. Maybe this guy cleaning out lockers and wiping down garbage cans. Maybe he'll start thinking about owning his own business or figuring out how to, you know, making a plan and planning for a plan and making a plan and pursuing small business. It sounded like he was in the same situation I was in when I started my lawn care and landscaping business, you know. I was broke as a joke living in a tent, you know. Get fired up about something. This guy fired me up. And I'm inspired by this guy's story, you know. So this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff. If you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe. If you're just passing through, help out a stranger today. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. This is Russell.